Right, I want to introduce to you Brad Beck. Brad is a 2009 graduate of the leadership program of the Rockies, and he is consummate communicator. He thinks about this all the time, not only in his professional life. He is a master at sales, advising others in sales, consulting others as well. He is a director of Yes, National Sales Manager for Design Master Color Tool Incorporated, which is an international color marketing company based in Boulder, Colorado. He is, once he was in the leadership program, he just felt compelled to continue on with perfecting not only his own communications skills, but helping others in his class and others who graduate from LPR. Started a Toastmasters group, which is primarily people like us. So without further hesitation, Brad, floor is yours.
How many of you like baseball? By show of hands. How many of you have been to Rockies games? How many of you are thinking, what is he going to interrupt my lunch for? Why is he up here today? Probably. There's always one or two. I love baseball. I have loved baseball since I'm a little guy in Little League, many legions ago. And when I travel around the country, enhancing people's lives with color, translation. I sell spray paint in the flower, craft, and creative industries, but my corporate office is in Boulder. So we don't sell spray paint, we enhance people's lives with color. But I get to travel all over the country. And what I do, I usually spend an extra day going to a ball game. I love baseball. And I usually buy a bobblehead, a baseball cap, a pennant. All this stuff gets to go in the man cave where my wife lets me keep it. And I'll get a baseball. Now here's an official Rockies Major League Baseball. What do you think I paid for it? $5, $10, $15? $10. $6? Probably worth $2. But I paid $3.50 at the Rockies dugout store. Now over here I have a baseball a little more significant, at least to me. This is a baseball signed by one of the greats of the game. In fact, he was one of my heroes growing up. In 1965, he pitched the perfect game. He's a 3-time Cy Young Award winner, the youngest baseball player ever to be elected to the Hall of Fame. If you scratch my surface, there's a little Dodger blue underneath it. And let's face it, there's not a lot of great Jewish athletes. This is a baseball signed by Sandy Koufax. Now this means a lot to me. But the question I have for you is this. What's the difference between these two baseballs? You've heard it, value. Some would say the autograph. Some would say one's more expensive than the other. But I would contend value. The value we assign to something different or rare, unique, outstanding. The question I have for you, though, today is how are you going to be adding value to your 3-minute presentation? What are you going to do that's going to make a difference? Now, I'll pass these around to show you that they're authentic, and there will be a TSA body check at the end of the day. If I don't get back, I will be hunting you down. But these are real. One's autographed. How will you autograph? How will you sign your presentation? You know, this has happened to us all in communication. You get on the phone, you order something, a service or a product, let's say a swing for your kids, your grandkids. You're on the phone, on the other side of the telephone is a customer service person. They're going, and then they get off the phone. And what do? They send your order over to engineering, and this is what it's transcribed as. Then it goes to manufacturing, and this is what they build. And then, this is how they install it. They come to your house and put it on the tree. You call to complain, and this is the response you get. And all you really wanted was a swing. How will you communicate your message to your audience out there? Communication's hard. When I have a discussion with my wife, she wants to talk to me I want to solve her problem. Communication can be concrete, but it can be switchy. Switchy meaning kind of, that's what my grandkids say, switchy. I don't know what it means, but it's a great word. I like to use it. This is Webster's interpretation of what communication is all about, an interplay. That means there's an audience, not just a speaker. How will your audience receive your message? I want you to think differently. We've all heard the idea of thinking outside the box. I'm going to challenge you to think outside the bubble. This is us, every day. This is how we live our lives. We get up in the morning, we go to work, take the kids to school, maybe go to the gym, come back, have time for dinner, and we do it all around. We chase our tail, never realizing you can leave a different way. Now the question that I have, and the reason I showed this slide, is what's the average attention span of goldfish? About 9 seconds. What's your average attention span? How fast will you get to the point of what you're going to be presenting? That's critical. Politicians have never learned this yet. How fast will you get to the point? We're talking about emotions. I've heard this all morning long. How do we connect with people? Well, flowers is one way. Jeffrey Gitomer, one of my favorite gurus in business, talks about your control. It's the most important tool is your mind. I just changed that to communication. How are we going to communicate that message to the people that we want to talk to? Gitomer talks about attracting people like a bee to honey. How do you connect with people? How do you engage with people? Well, in sales, the way I do it, to attract, connect, and engage, is give value first. I give things of value first. An idea, a concept. It doesn't have to be a physical deal. The question is, how are you going to approach your 3-minute presentation? Now you're probably sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, 3 minutes, what can I do in 3 minutes? Tom, a little earlier, the Gettysburg Address is less than 3 minutes. You think a 3-minute speech can have impact and change the world? I do. Powerful. So the first thing I would ask you to do is think visually. That's why I have a lot of slides with not a lot of words, a lot of pictures. Visually meaning, how do you look? Are you professional? Are you standing behind a lectern? By the way, this is a lectern, it's not a podium. It's one of my pet peeves. When you go to the Olympics and you win a medal, you get to stand on the podium. My Toastmasters in here know that. I harp on that all the time, right, Ryan? This is a lectern. So what are people seeing? How are you using the stage? What's here? Are you smiling? That's a window to whether you are awake or asleep. How many times have you gone to a meeting in the morning and say, good morning, I'm so glad to be here. Good to see you. I mean, that reflects, doesn't it? So you want to be vibrant, you want to smile. Fulcrum. How is your voice? This is the tool that you'll be communicating your message. What message will you be giving? Will you be using tone, pitch? Will you go fast to slow? Or slow to fast? Will you be doing the pause? I'm not talking about your southern father or the speed of a dog. The pause is just stopping. A couple years ago, I had the privilege of seeing Martha Stewart at a craft fair. 2,000 people in this big room. Huge audience. I'm sitting in the back with my designer. Every other word out of Martha Stewart's mouth was ah or So on the back of this big ticket, like her ego, are all the hash marks of all her ahs and ums in 45 minutes. There's an ah or an every 6 seconds. I mean, it's amazing. And I finally realized she's like our president. She likes to read. How are you at emphasis? Are you going to try to think and go ah, or are you going to pause? And let the audience catch up to your thought. Here's a technique. How's your rhythm, your pacing, your cadence? Think about a marching band. How are you going to verbalize something? This is one of my favorite cartoons. But the idea here is more important. Are you going to make a point and then tell a story? Bill Cove, one of the greatest speakers in the National Speakers Association, said this. And I had the good fortune of listening to David Brooks, who's a world champion of public speaking. And I like to study the best of the best. And David Brooks was talking about in a 3,500 word speech that Bill Cove gave, he only could remember 18 words. Those 18 words were this: make a point, tell a story. Make another point, tell another story. Make a third point, tell a third story. The point being, there'll be people who will meet you years later after you've done an event. They'll come up to you and say, hey, I saw you 10 years ago. Will reply, do you remember the point of the story? They'll say, no, absolutely not. But I remember the story. Well, if you remember the story, you're going to remember the point if it's wrapped in to your story. Content is huge. What are you going to be talking about? I use the rule of thumb, no more than one idea in every 10 minutes that I speak. One idea in every 10 minutes. So you got a 3-minute speech, keep it to one idea. You want to connect with your audience. Words. What words are you going to use? In the great Neil Simon play, Plaza Suite, there's a great scene where a playwright comes out of the building and he sees another playwright, Alan Arkin, and he says, hey, I hear you're writing a new play. He says, yeah, I am. I've got all the words. I just have to put them in the right order. What words will you use? My suggestion is, and this is how I write, you can do it this way if you'd like. I just write from a flow of consciousness. My friends in the room who know me, when I'm conscious, I can write. If I've been drinking, it's another story. But I write and write and write and write, because great speeches aren't written. They're rewritten. They're edited, and they're edited, and they're edited down to basically the distilled essence. What essence are you going to be sharing with your audience? Now, there are 4 types of speeches. There's the general purpose of a speech and then specific. Of course, I use General Washington here. Pointless trivia. Anybody know the name of this horse here in the picture? Say? No. It's actually Blueskin. Nelson was the chestnut that he used to ride. And the reason he always was photographed with Blueskin is because more, if you will, photogenic, we use the term today. But Nelson was the great horse that he used in battle mostly because it wasn't as skittish when the cannons went off.
And when he retired back at Mount Vernon, he set aside a plot of land for him and told all the help at Mount Vernon that one rule is no one was ever again to ride Nelson because he had performed so nobly.
Absolutely. That's off to you. Thank you, sir. So, this came out fun. Let me go back to that. So the 4 types of speeches. There's speeches to entertain, speeches to inform, speeches to persuade, and peaches. Peaches? There's peaches. No, speeches. Our speaker. Inform, entertain, inspire, and to, where's my speech?
Persuade.
Persuade, thank you. So those are the general purposes. Your specific purpose is your target. So what I used to do is think about a business card. Put your idea on the back of a business card. If it's more than a business card size, it's too much. Go back and rethink what your specific target is. So that your basic general assumption is your speech can be to entertain, inform, persuade, or entertain, or do this all the time. Steve, help me. Inspire, thank you. It can be 1, 2, 3, or all 4 of those. But specifically, what are you going to be hitting your target with? Now, this is us. We are always right. We're always arguing because we know the facts. How many people agree with us after we get done speaking? I would suggest 0, because we're right, they're wrong in the conversation. This is what the audience is thinking. What's in it for me? Your job is to connect with them. And I would suggest you have to connect with stories. Dana Lamont, who's a world champion of public speaking, I had the good fortune of meeting and studying under, he talks about the hook, the hammer, and the hinge. We were all taught having an opening, a body, and a conclusion in our presentation, having smooth transitions in between. The hook is asking a question, like I did in the beginning of my presentation, or saying something provocative, like, more people have died in Colorado skiing than have ever died anywhere in the country from hydraulic fracturing. Think that's provocative? Think I'll get people thinking about that? Or perhaps a quote. When I did a lot of fundraising for several candidates in Boulder County, I would open up with a little humor. I would say, being a Republican in Boulder County is like being a ham sandwich at a bar mitzvah. Rare. People would laugh, and when we laugh, we relax, and when we relax, we're more receptive to learning. That's a quote from David Brooks as well. So how are you going to hook people into your speech? How are you going to hammer away your point? Make a point, tell a story. Make another point, tell a story. Make a third point, tell a story. The nail is the point, the hammer is the story. But it's got to be your story. It can't be my story. A lot of us like the books Chicken Soup for the Soul, or we'll read somebody else's great story. That's super. But put it away in a file and use it for reference. Don't use somebody else's story, because we're going to all say, well, I've heard that before. It's got to be your story. And then most importantly to me is the hinge. What's the call to action? What do you want me to do after I spend time listening to you? Is it something like voting? Or do you want to give money? You made the point. You want me to feel or think? Or do you want me to laugh? I think you want to do all of those. So the point of this is track, connect, and engage by giving value first. Do the combination between head and heart. We're real good at head. We're terrible at heart. We don't tell enough significant stories. So one of the ways that I do this, a lot of times when I'll have the opportunity to think about what my next presentation is going to be, I'll start thinking, okay, what's my call to action first? What do I want people to do once I make the presentation? Do I want them to vote? Do I want them to write an op-ed in the newspaper? Do I want them to do something that's significant? What's the call to action? And work my way back. Now, when I get stuck a lot of times in writing, and I know a lot of you are thinking, well, I can talk about this issue, and that issue, and this issue. There are 6 emotions that all cultures have. They are happiness, sadness, anger, surprise, disgust, and fear. I have a tickler file for all those emotions. When I read an article or something on Twitter, I'll save that article, I'll put it in my tickler file. And when I need something to write, or if I'm stuck, I go back to those files and I use them as reference. But I don't use their stories, I use my own personal stories. It's the catalyst to get me to think about that idea. So those are happiness, sadness, anger, disgust, surprise, or fear. Another great technique when I'm working with Toastmasters is they'll say, well, I can't write, I'm just stuck. What I'll have them do is what I'm going to have you do right now. I think this gentleman back here did it very effectively. Is everybody close their eyes for me. Close your eyes. I want you to take a deep breath through your mouth. Exhale through your nose. Now go back to that first house that you can remember. Find your bedroom. You find it? You see the picture in your mind? Open your eyes. What did you see? Call it out. Anybody? What did you see in your room?
Bunk beds.
Bunk beds.
Color paint.
Paint, stuffed animals. I had model airplanes, and when the San Fernando Valley earthquake happened, they all came down. It was great as a kid. The reason I bring that up is, if you had those emotions now, the reason they are brought back to you is because they're significant. Something in them, back in the past, touched you here, touched one of those 6 emotions. Use those emotions in your story for your 3-minute presentation. It's an easy way to look at it and connect with your audience. Think of your story as a piece of rope and weave your way around with all these points. Have fun. Now, I don't care who you are, that's funny. I've actually done that in my office before, in cubicles. Make sure your words are correct. I don't think Rachel Ray really wanted to cook her animals or her family. And most importantly, practice. Practice. Practice now. Thank you, Shari, for telling everybody in here, start now. Darren LaCroix, world champion of public speaking, has a great saying. He calls it stage time, stage time, stage time. If you invest in practicing now, writing, editing, practicing, editing some more, you will have great opportunity in your 3-minute presentation. If you wait till the last minute, we'll see it. And I hopefully will be asked back to be one of your evaluators, being back in the room, and I'll see how well you progress. And what I've seen so far is excellent compared to my class. We would get the microphone from Bob, and I would see ice cubes melt. It was amazing. Something about that speak out in that microphone. That's why we started Liberty Toastmasters, because I saw doctors, lawyers, and Indian chiefs get that microphone and not be able to talk about the principles of liberty, about personal responsibility, individual rights, free markets, and limited government. Important, we all believe in them. But how do we change the world with those ideas? I would suggest practice. Now here's my offer to you all. I'm in 2 clubs every Saturday, either down at the Tech Center at 555 BTC Parkway, next to the Colorado Athletic Club. You can come there tomorrow. We meet at 10 a.m., an hour and 45 minutes. Great speeches, great evaluations. Everything we do gets timed and evaluated. But it's positive feedback. It's the kind of feedback that's going to make you grow as a presenter. I've been doing this for 7 years as a Toastmaster. I've earned the highest level, which is called the Distinguished Toastmaster. Steve House has earned that as well. The difference in my ability to come up here, I'm always nervous when I speak, but I take those butterflies that I have in my stomach and I put them in formation so I'm able to come out here and have some enthusiasm about my subject. I love the idea of public speaking. So if you come to either that meeting or the meeting that we're up in Longmont with Brian and several others, we meet the 2nd and 4th Saturday of the month. You come to one of those meetings, just come and visit, no obligation, come often, see what we do. I'll stay afterwards with all of you or any of you for 30 to 60 minutes and spend time investing in your speech. It's that important to me. Because if you can communicate a message, we can change the dynamic. We can change the culture. I normally charge people money for that. Well, sometimes. Most of the time they say, hey, you're my friend, we need help. I say, of course. But I'm willing to spend the time with you on your speeches if you are willing to practice. So with that, I'll take questions. Anybody has comments? I know you just want to all come up. Yes, ma'am.
So, on the Saturday for tomorrow morning,
Yes.
if you've never been to one, are we just watching others, or?
Yes.
Okay.
The most we'll make you do is stand up, introduce yourself, which I think you could do, and then tell us what you thought about the meeting afterwards. There's usually 4 speakers. There are 4 evaluators. All the evaluations are based on the individual's goals. You're not competing against each other, but we'll work out of a manual. So the first manual is the competent communicator. It's 4 to 6 minute presentation, all about you. It's your icebreaker. The next one is organize your speech, which is an opening, a body, and conclusion with transition. The third speech, I believe, is get to the point. Each one builds upon a previous skill set. So if you get through all 10 speeches, you become a competent communicator. That's the first level. It's a wonderful opportunity to meet other people that are interested in liberty. You'll get to hear about the subject that we're talking about today, individual rights, free markets, limited government. We usually mirror what happens in LPR as far as the theme. So whatever you're talking about here, we usually talk for 2 meetings at the Liberty Toastmaster events. Then what's really cool is you get a chance to get up and talk extemporaneously. We have a thing called table topics. It's like Bob with the microphone. So you'll be asked a question, you come up, and then you get to answer it. Now the key to that is you don't have to answer the question. You can say, that is a great question, but today I'm going to talk about my dog. And as long as you're up there to 1 to 2 minutes, you may win as best table topics. So it's just getting up there and speaking. So we have table topics, evaluations, and then we have an opportunity for just camaraderie and talking and go out to lunch afterwards usually. So it's a lot of fun, and I invite you all to be there. Other questions? Great. Well, thank you all for the opportunity. I appreciate it.